What if I told you the Air Force built a plane around a gun so powerful the recoil could stall the engines? What if that gun fired bullets the size of Coke bottles at 70 rounds per second? And what if that plane could survive direct hits from surface-to-air missiles and still fly home? Meet the A-10 Thunderbolt II. The Air Force calls it the Thunderbolt. Everyone else calls it the Warthog. And it's the ugliest, toughest, most beloved aircraft in the entire U.S. military. This is the story of a plane the Air Force has tried to kill for 40 years and failed every single time. Let's go back to Vietnam, early 1970s. The Air Force had a problem. Fast jets like the F-4 Phantom were incredible at dropping bombs from 30,000 feet. But when troops on the ground needed close air support, needed someone to fly low and slow and kill tanks that were about to overrun their position, the F-4 was terrible at it. Too fast, too high, too inaccurate. By the time it made a gun run, it was already a mile past the target. So the Pentagon issued a requirement: build an aircraft specifically designed for close air support. It needs to fly low and slow, loiter over the battlefield for hours, and destroy tanks. But here's where it gets interesting. They didn't start with the plane. They started with the gun, the General Electric GAU-8 Avenger, a 7-barrel rotary cannon that fires 30mm armor-piercing shells. Each round is 11 inches long and weighs almost a pound. At full rate of fire, it shoots 70 rounds per second. That's 4,200 rounds per minute. The recoil force is 10,000 pounds. That's more thrust than one of the A-10's engines. When this gun fires, it produces so much smoke and gas that it would choke the engines if they weren't designed to handle it. The recoil is so violent that the plane actually slows down mid-flight. So the Air Force said, build a plane around this gun, make it fly, and make it survive. Two companies competed: Northrop's A-9, sleek and elegant, and Fairchild's A-10, which looked like someone had welded scrap metal together in a junkyard. In 1973, the Air Force chose the ugly one because it worked. Let's talk about what makes the A-10 different from every other combat aircraft. First, it's built to survive, not evade, not outrun, survive. The cockpit is surrounded by a titanium bathtub, 1,200 pounds of titanium armor that can stop 23mm rounds. That's the same caliber that shreds other aircraft. The A-10 pilot sits in it and keeps flying. The fuel tanks are filled with fire-retardant foam. If a bullet punctures a tank, the foam prevents explosion. The fuel lines are self-sealing. Hit them, and they automatically close off the leak. The flight control systems are redundant. Manual cables back up the hydraulics. If you lose all hydraulics, the pilot can still fly using cables and pulleys, like a World War II fighter. The landing gear doesn't fully retract. Why? So if the hydraulics fail and the gear won't come down, it's already partially down. The pilot can belly land without destroying the plane. Even the engines are designed to survive. They're mounted high on the fuselage, above the wings. This shields them from ground fire. And they're separated, so one engine can take a hit and the other keeps running. The manual says the A-10 can fly with one engine, half a wing, and half a tail missing. And it's not theoretical, it's happened. Now let's talk about the gun, because that's why we're all here. The GAU-8 Avenger is mounted slightly off-center. The barrel that fires is aligned with the center line of the aircraft. This minimizes recoil-induced yaw. It carries 1,174 rounds. At full burst, that's about 17 seconds of trigger time. But pilots fire in 1 or 2 second bursts, 70 to 140 rounds per pass. The ammunition is a mix: armor-piercing incendiary rounds with depleted uranium cores, and high-explosive incendiary rounds. Every 5th round glows white-hot, so the pilot can see where the bullets are going. A depleted uranium penetrator can punch through 69mm of steel armor at 500 meters. That's the top armor of a Soviet T-72 tank. And you're not firing 1 round. You're firing 70 per second. The sound. Oh, the sound. Brrrr-t. It's not a rat-a-tat. It's a deep, guttural rip, like tearing the fabric of reality. Ground troops say it's the most beautiful sound in the world. The enemy says it's the last sound they hear. The Gulf War, 1991. This is where the Warthog became a legend. In 6 weeks, A-10s flew over 8,000 combat sorties. They destroyed 987 tanks, 926 artillery pieces, 501 armored personnel carriers, 1,106 trucks, and 72 Scud missile sites. They called it tank plinking. Iraqi armor would try to hide in revetments, under bridges, in the desert. The A-10 would find them, circle overhead like a vulture, and methodically destroy them one by one. But the real proof came from the damage they took, and survived. One A-10 took a direct hit from a surface-to-air missile, blew a 6-foot hole in the wing, shredded the hydraulics. The pilot flew it 300 miles back to base using manual reversion, landed safely. Another A-10 got hit by 23mm anti-aircraft fire, lost one engine, lost part of a stabilizer, lost hydraulics. The pilot flew it home on one engine using backup controls. The most famous, Captain Kim Campbell, 2003 Iraq. Her A-10 took heavy ground fire on a low pass, lost all hydraulics, massive damage to the tail and one engine. She switched to manual reversion mode and flew the plane like a glider with an engine for 30 minutes. She brought it back to base and landed it. When the maintainers saw the damage, they couldn't believe she'd flown it at all. There are dozens of stories like this. The A-10 is the only aircraft in the U.S. inventory designed from day one to take a beating and keep fighting. And the troops on the ground love it. When they're pinned down and scared, and they hear that brrrt, they know someone's coming to save them. Here's the thing. The Air Force has been trying to retire the A-10 since the 1990s. They say it's too slow, too vulnerable, too old. They want to replace it with the F-35. But every time they try, Congress says no, the Army says no, and most importantly, the pilots who need close air support say hell no. Because here's the reality. The F-35 is incredible. 5th-generation stealth, sensor fusion, network-centric warfare. It can do things the A-10 can only dream of. But it can't loiter over a battlefield for 2 hours. It can't fly at 150 miles per hour and 100 feet off the ground. It doesn't have a gun that can shred an armored convoy in 10 seconds. And it costs $80 million. The A-10 costs $11 million. For the price of one F-35, you could buy 7 Warthogs. Afghanistan and Iraq proved this. When troops were in contact and needed danger-close fire support, they didn't ask for F-16 or F-18. They asked for the A-10. Because the A-10 pilot can see the battlefield, can talk to the ground commander, can make multiple passes, can put precision fire exactly where it's needed, and can stay on station until the job is done. The Air Force keeps proposing retirement, and Congress keeps funding upgrades, new wings to extend the airframe life to 2040, new avionics, new targeting pods, helmet-mounted displays. The A-10 first flew in 1972. That's over 50 years ago, and it's still flying combat missions today. Still the best close air support platform in the world. The Warthog refuses to die. Because when you design something to survive everything, it survives everything. Let's put this in perspective. 715 A-10s built, 281 still in service, over 2 million flight hours, deployed in every U.S. conflict since 1991, thousands of tanks destroyed, countless lives saved, and a reputation for toughness that no other aircraft can match. The A-10 wasn't the fastest, it wasn't the stealthiest, it wasn't the most high-tech, but it was designed to do one job better than anything else: protect troops on the ground. It's a plane that looks like it was designed by someone who hated beauty and loved function. A plane that shouldn't work, but does. A plane the Air Force doesn't want, but can't get rid of. Because when you're a soldier in a firefight, pinned down by enemy armor, watching your friends die, you don't want stealth. You don't want supersonic speed. You don't want sensor fusion. You want the Warthog. You want that ugly, beautiful, indestructible beast circling overhead, and you want to hear that sound. Brrrt! The sound that means you're going home alive. Thanks for watching. If you loved this, check out our video on the Apache helicopter, the A-10's rotary wing cousin, and subscribe for more deep dives into the machines that changed warfare. Drop a comment. Should the Air Force retire the A-10 or keep it flying? The debate is still raging.